Hello everyone, this is Jebro, and today we're talking about the meta Necromancer Scourge Blood support build. So it's a meta build. Again, I've been playing this with some success. A lot of people have been playing this as well recent times. I like support builds. I like engineer as well a lot, as you all know. But we're going to be covering this today. If you do like the video, make sure you press like. Don't forget to comment and also subscribe, as well as checking out the Patreon, patreon.com/Jebro. You'll be able to go and help support the channel and what I do. I also stream live on twitch.tv/JebroUni, mostly, nearly, kind of almost every day, but doing raids as well with our community on Saturdays with people who may not have even played raids before. So we're making some nice progress over on that kind of side of things as I start to play a ton more Guild Wars 2, especially off stream as well. But PvP, I've been having a lot of fun, mainly because of this build actually, because I'm liking Necro, and Scourge is something I wasn't really massively in love with, if you know me very well, especially on Twitch as well, when I talk about Scourge being a little bit dull at times. But the healing support build does, it's always kind of given me a little bit of interest in playing Scourge, and I played it very early, especially when it released. This was a similar build I kind of played, but this was played in the North American Monthly Automated Tournament a couple of months ago. NOS played it, and it was great assistance in what they needed to do to get the job done and win the monthly tournament in the end. We're going to go over this. It's not going to be a massively long video, or I hope so, and probably you do as well. So, Scourge is one of the elite specializations. PvP, you're going to need Path of Fire if you want to play it, okay? The idea of this build is that you are basically supporting your team. You do not want to be 1 versus 1 playing this build, okay? No. The idea is that you are supposed to be corrupting boons that enemies have, and also giving your teammates barrier, as well as reviving people, okay? It's a support build. That's what you're supposed to do. Damage isn't your main big thing in this build. You're playing with Mender's Amulet, you've got some damage, but it's not really... I mean, you can 1v1 pretty well versus like a really glassy class, don't get me wrong, but your main role is to be supporting in team fights. So you don't want to be 1v1 really, unless you know you've got support elsewhere who's supporting a team fight. That's really the only situation you want to be in, a 1v1. If you're forced onto it and that's the cap you've got and you want to win the game, etc, etc, you know the drill, okay? Let's go for the weapons first and check these out. We have got Mender's Amulet, of course, is the supportive amulet. Rune of Doliak is going to give you toughness and vitality. You've got life HP in this build, 27,000. Toughness, HP, and then you've got on the sick piece, you've got toughness and regenerate health every second. Keeps you sustained, keeps you going, keeps you tanky, keeps you there in the fight, doing what you're doing, you know, okay? Let's have a look at the rest of the build. What else have we got? We got Staff, of course, with all the marks for your fears, your regeneration, your conditions, and also your condition removal, which is very, very important. This ability right here. Don't use it as much as I do. Energy and also Sigil of Revocation. So on hits, remove a boon. Extra boon removal. And then we have on the other set, we have the Axe, we have the Focus, and we have Sigil of Intelligence over on the Axe, which makes sense, and then Sigil of Revocation on hit, remove a boon. Makes sense, right? Why is Focus good? Removing boons. And also it does a nice little bit of burst damage, to be fair, as well. Then of course we've got Soul Grasp, which is going to give you some life force as well. Boom. Shakalaka. Unholy Feast, so you can see obviously it gives the cripple, as well as converting boons into conditions. So that's part of your conversion, which we were talking about just before. This is big damage. Also gives you life force, as well as inflicting vulnerability. So, what else is going on? We have the Sand Flare, which is the Scourge heal. It's going to give you a barrier as well Oh, good lord. So grant nearby allies a barrier, convert a boon on nearby enemies into torment and cripple, getting rid of those boons, of course. Then we've got Trail of Anguish, which is going to give you stability and swiftness, as well as the people behind you. As it says there, grants boons to allies passing through it. Inflict burning on enemies and corrupt a boon into cripple and torment. There you go. Then we've got corrosive poison cloud. So that is, you weaken yourself, but you know, it's not too bad because you can get rid of it with one of your shroud skills over here, one of your shades. But you can also use this for really good for blocking projectiles coming in from, I actually use this in raids a lot on Cairn at the moment, from Lich Form as the main one. There's a lot of rangers, there's dragon hunters at the moment, there's shortbow thieves, obviously there's anyone with projectiles, like there's tons of classes of projectiles at the moment, including, you know, core guardians with scepters, blah blah blah, etc. Also, this is good in putting on down corpses, enemies wise, and using it on tanks and bunkers to just make sure they're not healing as much as they would like to. Also, then we got Well of Corruption, so targets area pulses, converting boons on foes into conditions. It is also a dark combo field. Ooh. Also life force. And then your elite punishment, breach into the realm of torment for a brief time, granting might to allies and slowing enemies. Convert a boon on enemies into torment and cripple each pulse. Okay, so you want to using this, you know, when you know you're going to be in a place for a moment in time, you want to be using that, i.e. when there is down corpse. That's probably one of the best times to use this, when you're on a full cap and this covers most of the capture point. Probably not a mid cap, i.e. like, you know, fire isn't a good place to use this unless there's a down corpse. And as long as there's not a Scourge on the other team, because they're probably going to be able to pull them right out of it, and everyone, it's just going to be a wasted elite, which is 90-second cooldown as well. You don't want to be wasting that too much. So yeah, just make sure you're using this at the right time. Use your mind bullets. Use them well. Okay, pardon me. And then you've got Manifest Sandshade, of course, as well. And then the rest of them here, your shades convert condition on nearby allies, i.e. you as well, into a boon. Sand Cascade. Sand rises up near your shades to shield nearby allies. This is one of your main barrier abilities right here. Also, then we've got Garish Pillar, which is, you know, a big important one, which will come into in Transfusion. This is the one you want to be using in range when you are able to port your ally to you when they're in down state and res them back up. Also is a fear at the same time. This is only if you have Transfusion, of course, with the port revive. Otherwise, it is just the fear, of course. And then you've got Harbinger, Shroud, Shade. Enter the final shroud, gaining a powerful barrier and priming the shroud for a powerful detonation that damages nearby enemies and bolsters allies. So you do, this is also for protection as well as barrier, and is one of your more damage focused abilities as well, which is pretty good. Lots of torment on this build, on 4 and 5 obviously, not so much on those, but let's go over Soul Reaping quick. Increase the amount of life force gained from all sources by 10%. Marks become unblockable and generate life force when triggered. Trying to get down as many of these marks of blood as possible is always nice. Chill Blends is good as well. Chill and Poison, obviously. Chill slows the recharge rate of skills and also slows movement speed. And Poison obviously reduces your heal effectiveness by 33%. Putrid Mark, you don't want to be spamming this too much. You want to use that for condition removal. You can scribe a mark that transfers conditions from yourself to foes when they trigger it. Boom. Da-da-da. And then you've got your Reaper's Mark as well, which is your fear. Now remember, these are unblockable as well, so you will be able to use them on people that you're using block, i.e. you're going to be good using your stuff. I think pretty much if you're using staff most of the time, like making sure that you're in this Soul Reaping is quite often the case, but you know, anyway. Sinister Shroud. Shroud skills gain reduced recharge. It's not really that difficult. Vital Persistence gain Vitality. Your incoming healing is increased. Vitality plus 180, then your incoming healing increases 10%. Maximum life force is increased by 20%, important. And gain life force for gain life force every interval up to the threshold when not in Shroud. Gain protection when you enter Shroud. You're entering Shroud when you hit this right here. Okay? This is when you enter Shroud. You're not entering the Shroud when you like put this down. This is when you enter Shroud. Okay. Just so you know. This runs out when you use these skills, okay? It's not while you have these down, it's actually when you use these. So you can put these down, of course. But then when you're actually using them, that's when your Shroud goes down, okay? Just so you know. Some people think, you know, it's when you're slapping them down at the times, and it's just people who don't really know the class, I guess? I don't know. Anyway, blood magic, let's go over there. Mark. Inscribe a mark that bleeds foes when they trigger it and grants regeneration to allies. Leave a mark of blood when you dodge. Ta-da! Which is pretty good. Hence why a little bit of energy in the build. Energy is always good for just increasing your, you know, being able to dodge more. But in this build, it's also giving you that mark to put down as well, which gives regen and a little bit of bleeding, which is always not too horrible. Siphon health whenever you hit a foe. Minions siphon health and transfer it up to you. That's just a, you know, minor trait, not massively important. You and your nearby allies siphon health with Shroud attacks. This effect increases while in Shroud. Ooh. I don't need to explain every single one. You know what they do. It's just by me reading it. Last rites, as long as you are not downed, allies near you do not bleed out if they are downed. Gain healing power based on your current health. Healing power is important because that is the stat which helps you with your barrier. You want me to read it from the Guild Wars 2 official wiki? I will. Okay? Not going to do that because that'd be long-winded. But it scales, the amount of barrier gives scales to your healing power. Just so you know. I'll read it. Barrier is a combat mechanic introduced in the Guild Wars 2 Path of Fire expansion. Creates a health barrier that takes damage prior to the health bar. Okay. Barrier disappears 5 seconds after being applied. So you want to make sure that the damage that's incoming when you apply that barrier to yourself and allies is going to be around for, you know, when you use it, that's going to be the best time to initiate the barrier. For the amount of damage that's coming into your team. If it's just one burst attack, you know, that's good. But spamming your barrier all at the same time ain't gonna be good because you're not gonna have that barrier for very long. It's all just gonna disappear. So if you're giving, like, I don't know, let me just pop down some things here. There you go. Like, I've got 10k there. More than that, sorry, because that comes up obviously afterwards. You can see how quickly that kind of disperses. And it kind of disappeared quite quickly because I just spammed it off. So if you just use like this third ability here, for example, and then you just, you know, you've got that for 5 seconds, maybe then, you know, pop off another one if you need to. But sometimes you do need to use those abilities at the same time because you do need to like condition remove, you do need to, you know, get that barrier, you want some extra damage, you've got to revive, and sometimes spamming it is important. And sometimes because of the situation in a team fight, you know, someone's in down stay on your team, you want the barrier, you want the condition removal, and you want the fear/revive and the damage to just put them off. Sometimes it happens, like, you know, that's just the way it kind of goes. But, you know, think about it. Think about the damage you're putting out, how often you're able to use these. For example, that's 10 and a quarter seconds of cooldown there. So just be careful what you're doing. So the amount of barrier generated is based on the source's healing power. Remember, the source's healing power, and is capped at 50% of the recipient's maximum health. Okay? So, let's go over the rest of the build. So while someone is in down state around you as well, they're not going to lose health like in the normal way, like, you know, how it kind of chugs down. So you got more opportunities to res as well. That's why it's important you're in a team fight, because a lot of these traits are based around them. You know, like reviving puts down the mark. You know, the dodging puts down the mark. You know, the making sure people don't go down completely, like their health doesn't degenerate while they're in down state, is because, you know, you've got this trait. So your traits are supportive. You know, this is why a lot of them. This is why this is a support build. You want to be with people when you do this. Okay, don't Don't not be next to people. Shroud 4 skill heals and partially revives nearby allies as well. Up to 5 nearby downed allies are teleported to you upon using Shroud skill 4. Now you can literally turn the tide of a fight with this ability alone. I am expecting them to nerf the hell out of this. There is no cooldown on it. It's just like you can only use it every 17 seconds, of course, but it does pulse. So, and there are 9 pulses as well, so you can actually keep moving around. You can move around. They might change the pulse. It should really just be 1. But I'm moving around. So if, say, like my ally is there and he's downstated, if I use it here and then I move, I don't res them and then I move, and they will move kind of with me. It's a very unique skill in the game, actually. A very unique passive trait, along with using, obviously, Garish Pillar. That's the Shroud ability that is going to, you know, activate that. It's not this, because obviously there's 4 of the Shroud skills here, Shade skills here, but this is included in that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so Scourge, gain the power to craft sand shadows. Ooh. And command them using your life force. Gain access to punishment and shade skills. That is what the class is. Granting an ally a barrier removes conditions afflicting them and grants might as well. Granting an ally a barrier. Okay, so remember, you are granting barrier through Sand Cascade. Okay, you can also remove condition on nearby allies into boons with this. This will also remove conditions. You have some condition removal in this build, as well as your staff, of course. Barrier. Remember, also you are adding giving people barrier with your heal skill as well. My god, there's loads of stuff, isn't there? Sand Sage. Gain concentration expertise for each of your active sand shades. You want to have them out as much as possible. Sand concentration plus 45 per shade. Expertise plus 45 per shade. Okay, you got 3. Boom. Boom. Lovely job. Look at that. It's like, I don't know, clockwork or something. Anyway, Harbinger Shrouds. So let's have a look at this. Enter the final shroud, gaining a powerful barrier and priming the shroud for a powerful destination that damages nearby enemies and bolsters allies. We've obviously just gone through this as well. Then Blood as Sand, reduce incoming damage for each shade you have active. Make sure you pop out the shades, obviously. Self-explanatory. And then Feed from Corruption. When you remove or corrupt a boon from an enemy, gain it. So remember all of the things where you can remove boons from your enemies. There's the heal. There's a Trail of Anguish. There is there we go, Spinal Shivers. There is Unholy Feast. Okay, there's lots of important abilities here. As I said, Unholy Beast. I feast. Sorry, I don't know why I did that again. But you want to make sure that you're, you know, removing corrupting as much as possible to gain those boosts for yourself, which is obviously, if you see someone with stability, you want to get rid of that suit very, very quickly and then get it yourself, you know, for guardians in a fight, for example. That's going to be a big thing. NGs and whatnot as well, removing their boons for their survival and their regen is very, very important. Especially guardians, you want to be removing those boons as soon as you possibly can, as well as elementalists playing, you know, weavers and whatnot, tempests. But yeah, I mean, this is the build really. Well of Corruption is very, very awesome as well. That's another one, converting boons on foes into conditions. You're going to gain those boons. This is an addition. This should really adjust tooltips in other places, but it doesn't. Because that would be a lot of work probably. But that's pretty much the build. Like, it's not rocket science. You remove conditions, give yourself boons that way. That's another way you give yourself boons. Support your team with barriers through your shroud abilities and your sandshade, through your heal. You know, you are supporting your team. Make sure projectiles aren't being, you know, flown at you from lich form and things like that. You know who you're playing against. Look for a reaper. Remember how long he's last used lich form, when that cooldown might be back up, so you don't spam this out because it's a 30-second cooldown. Things like this are important. You can use different. There are some other skills you can use in this build. I'm not really sure what else you would use. I guess, you know, some other stun breakers maybe. Instead of this, you could probably use, I don't know, Spectral Walk if you wanted to. There isn't many other abilities I would probably use over this. To be fair, traits wise, I think you're pretty much stuck in what you are using. In raids, entering shadow increases your damage for a duration. I think raids you go between these two. If you're playing like condition Scourge, but that's not what this is at all. But yeah, I mean it's pretty supportive. It's fun as well, and it can actually carry you up a little bit as well. If you're a newer player, this is a lot. There's a lot to remember in this build, but you can get pretty far in this. You can actually spam quite a lot, and it will carry you pretty far up the ranked ladder. To be honest, I'm still at about the same place. I am a little bit higher, like Plat 1. Mostly I would say like Gold 3 Plat 1 ish, which is where I normally end up, no matter what season it's in. But yeah, give it a bash. If you just like if you're new or you're playing another class and you're like, I like support builds, you will like this build. If you like rezzing and really supporting your team, it's a fun build to play. That's all I'm going to say on the matter, really, to be honest, because that's it. That is it. Be good. Be awesome. Stay safe. I'll be good. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Not too well at the moment. I'm having a bit of an issue with one of my eyes at the moment, but I just wanted to get a short video out. I hope you're good. This is why I've been a little bit short today. Hoping to get more meta builds out there to you. If you've got any additional information you want to pop in that I haven't gone over that might be a little bit more detailed, please feel free to drop it in the comments below. But Jebro, thank you very much. From me and my Scourge, I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now. Oh, and don't forget Patreon. These videos come out a couple of days earlier.